Welcome to The Sideshow. All right, welcome to another edition of The Sideshow. Mark is going to be taking the lead on this particular episode. So, Mark, why don't you tell everybody what we're talking about today?
All right. Well, thanks, Mike, and welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about a really influential band and ultimately a musician. And we're going to be talking about Alice Cooper today. Say it with me, Alice Cooper. We're going to be doing Billion Dollar Babies, which was one of their biggest albums. And we're going to be doing side 2 of Billion Dollar Babies. Now, Alice Cooper, I mean, this is a first of all, it's important to note that there is now a person legally named Alice Cooper, but it actually was, who we now refer to as Alice Cooper, was born Vincent Furnier, and he was just a member of a band that was called Alice Cooper, and just remained a member of that band until the band dissolved in the mid-'70s, and then he legally changed his name to Alice Cooper. He was the front man, and I think a lot of people thought of him as Alice Cooper even when he was in the band, but he actually did it for legal reasons to try to, ensure that there was issues around control of the songs and that type of thing to continue on with his career. But definitely an interesting individual.
Well, it was kind of like, people thought that Ian Anderson, that his name was Jethro Tull. Mm-hmm. Whereas it was the name of the band, not the front man of the band. But and Alice Cooper had its place in the early '70s rock history that was right up there with Jethro Tull, and that when you say that they were an influential band, I think that's true. I mean, because there weren't that many artists doing what that band was doing in the early '70s, whether good, bad, or otherwise. Really, I mean, not the sort of, if someone asked me, so what's your top 20 favorite rock bands? Probably wouldn't include Alice Cooper, but I mean, he was, if you started to get into music in the '70s, particularly mid or early '70s, or if you were just, you had any inkling of what was going on in popular culture, even if you weren't into, album-oriented rock or rock music, in any kind of hardcore way, you knew who Alice Cooper was.
Yeah. Well, he was I think first and foremost a showman. And they really had tried to work into an interesting niche in entertaining people, and a lot of influence from horror films, from vaudeville, and just kind of garage rock and roll that they brought together. And it wasn't that these guys grew up in high school, and it is really interesting. I mean, this band, they all came from the same high school. With some exceptions, there was some personnel changes as they actually became a professional band. But for the most part, this band was formed by some guys on the cross country team at what is it? Let's see here. What was the name of this high school? They were all from the same high school, like Cortez High School, excuse me. Okay, let's start this again. These guys all came from the cross-country team of Cortez High School. This was in the Phoenix area of Arizona. And they decided they were going to enter this talent contest. None of them, but one of them could play guitar, but the rest of them couldn't play instruments. And they had this guy, Glenn Buxton, who could play the guitar. He played his guitar, but the rest of them basically kind of lip synced and air guitared some Beatles songs. And they won the talent competition. And they decided that, well, maybe we should actually make a real band. And Glenn Buxton kind of taught the other members how to play instruments, and he actually brought together some of the initial writing for the band. And Alice Cooper, who again was Vincent Furnier at the time, he did the lead vocals, and they became a band. Which again is such a great story of how these bands actually come together.
If you ever get annoyed, look at him. He's self-employed. He loves to work at nothing all day.
Exactly. In fact, we'll be talking about some music today that one of the songs on side 2 of this album, some of the kind of drive behind it was the fact that these guys could not fucking believe that they were getting paid as much money as they were for what they were doing. So they started this band in the Phoenix area, and they found themselves that they were regularly commuting to L.A. for some of the larger gigs that they were getting. They certainly weren't getting a lot of commercial traction or record type traction or whatever, but they were getting gigs, and they were getting paying gigs, and they decided to relocate to Los Angeles, where they came into the vision of no other than Frank Zappa. And, this is
so that's what explains it.
Exactly. Well, Frank, they were already at that time, their initial performance in this talent show was a little over the top and artsy, and they were wearing costumes to dress up like the Beatles, kind of exaggerated, kind of long hair type costumes and whatever. So they saw the value of putting on a show, so they get to Los Angeles, and they're incorporating a lot of this into their live performances. And this Frank Zappa was looking for interesting, kind of off the beaten path type acts, and Alice Cooper certainly met the match. And they had a couple other names in between. I think they were the Spiders, and then they became like Nas. That somebody else had that name, and they settled on Alice Cooper.
Todd Rundgren was in a band called the Nas.
So it's for they kind of fell back into this notion of Alice Cooper, which really stuck, obviously, and Alice Cooper is with us today still. So these guys, they get out to L.A. They actually get signed to kind of this mini label that Frank Zappa is leading, and Frank Zappa was also instrumental in kind of leading them to getting signed with larger contracts above and beyond his little umbrella there in Los Angeles, and they got some interesting guidance from Frank along the way. So they turn around, and they're starting to get some notoriety, and they're starting to play in larger venues and other shows, and some incidents actually start to happen that get them some notoriety as a weird, out there, maybe bad or even evil type band.
There's no such thing as bad press.
Well, I think we were talking the other day about this, Mike, about how they were in a concert. I don't know exactly where it was. They were in some festival, and they had it like a chicken that was a part of the act. And the chicken, wasn't really cooperating. And Alice Cooper, who thought, or Vincent at the time, who thought the chickens could fly, threw it out into the audience. And well, chickens can't fly. And it ended up in the lap of somebody in the handicap section of the audience that they were looking at.
How Alice Cooper is that?
Exactly. Well, one thing leads to another, and this ended up into more of like, as it got reported, more of like a Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne bit the head off the chicken type story, which was not the case that was out there. So he's Vincent is talking to Frank Zappa and asks, who asked him, like, what was going on with this? And Vincent said, no, this wasn't true. And Frank Zappa's advice was, well, if anybody asks you about it, don't deny it, right? that this is the case, again, under that notion of this was getting them some publicity. And they leaned in to this showmanship, the makeup that they were doing, costumes, some really just outrageous antics. I mean, ultimately going to, Vincent or Alice Cooper getting his head chopped off in a guillotine at the end of the show. Lots of blood and these types of things, kind of many horror themes. And it did start to take on the notion of, we've got this notion of this evil person that's out there, and they encountered some flack at some of the venues that they were going to. It began to kind of be a big part of their brand.
Just the sort of thing that drove both teenage kids and their parents, though in different ways, crazy.
Yes, it did. In fact, they sang about that a little bit as well as we get into this, as we get into the conversations about this album. So, it was a really, really interesting growth that they had. Their first couple albums didn't get a whole lot of traction. They had an album in 1969 called Pretty's for You, and another one in 1970 called Easy Action. And these, bottom line, they struggled to get any traction whatsoever as far as commercial success, as far as critical success. They were just kind of out there having some success as a live band. But even that began to kind of overtake them, because they were located initially in LA, and they decided that the scene just wasn't working for what they want to do. One of the members of the band described, it's like, LA, it's like those guys were on acid and we were drinking beer. And so they wanted a different scene, and they ended up relocating to Detroit, which just, more of a, kind of a, down and dirty rock and roll city.
More street level rock and roll,
Yeah.
Mitch Ryder, MC5, Iggy Pop,
the
Stooges,
stuff
like that.
It did. It worked better for them, right? In what they were doing, they felt more comfortable. They felt more at ease doing shows. They felt like they were more with their people. And if they were going to experiment with something on stage, they got better feedback from the audiences that they were dealing with as far as what they wanted to do. So their third album, which came out in 1971, Love It to Death, we're really getting to the point now, kind of these, we've seen this before with other acts. You can put out two clunkers of albums, but gets to be that third album and people are looking for some hits. And by people, I mean the record companies are looking for some hits. They need some return on what's going on. And their third album had what was a hit, I'm 18, which, it still gets some play. On classic rock radio to this day.
That I'm 18 is a substantial rock song. Talking about 18, I'm in the middle of life, I'm a boy and I'm a man, and
don't know what I want.
Don't know what I want, so I want everything and that kind of thing. No, and just because that relatively simple, straightforward sentiment. You don't have to have some garish stage production for that song to work.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That song, just listen to it on the radio, even if you had no idea who Alice Cooper as a band was, when you hear that song and you're 18, there's a reason why that song has stuck around. It's a relatively timeless song, though it fits very well into that early 70s milieu.
Sure.
I think that is a great rock and roll song.
Yeah, so now you have a band that has what is starting to become a substantial live or touring presence, just because of this thing about what these guys are doing. This was new. This really kind of over the top show for bands like this. Bands like Kiss later on in the 70s point to Alice Cooper and say this was really inspirational for them. And they went on to a tour in Europe, and there was some, they were getting some European celebrities. I think David Bowie showed some interest in them when they were touring in Europe, and Elton John. They were getting buzz from their live shows. Now they're getting commercial traction from their albums. And that mainstream album success, along with, just a really talked about live show, really started to create some buzz for them. They had a couple more albums: 1971 Killer and 1972 School's Out, which was a big hit as far as an album go. I mean, the song School's Out, another one. I mean, this is still in regular rotation and a favorite around the end of May and June for a lot of high schools pulling out of the parking lot as they're getting out. Just a fun, great rock and roll song.
Well, let's face it. When you're a kid, basically until you're 17 or 18, I mean, when school is done, that is time to rock and roll. That's when you throw the chains off, and I mean it is a sentiment that took hold with a lot of teenagers.
Yeah.
The whole idea, school's out, no more bullshit. We're school's out.
Yeah, I mean, there does come a point as in your growth as you move kind of from that junior high school to high school type age where the last day of school becomes a bigger deal than fucking Christmas, right? I mean, it's a feeling that's hard to replicate as an adult unless you're a teacher. Coming out. So School's Out obviously struck a nerve and made some money for the band as well.
Wait a minute. Now let me put it to you this way, okay? You and I, Madison, Wisconsin, spring 1993.
Oh, yeah?
And you finished up your last exams for your degree. I finished up my last law school exams. We're both 30.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I felt was school's out forever. I mean, it was that's how I felt. I was 30. We were. I mean, we could remember the night going hanging out at the terrace behind the Union in Madison, drinking pitchers of beer.
Well, I mean, you did.
So
you always had a special way of celebrating the last day of school, because I recall at the end of your first year of law school, I think it was the end of the first year, it might have been the first semester. I think it was the first year though, because it was about 6 o'clock in the morning. And I think that you'd been up all night completing a paper, which was your last piece of work that you had to submit. And you'd gone in and actually dropped it off at whatever school. You came back. I mean, the sun had just come up, and I know that it was early in the morning because suddenly incredibly loud music was playing from the living room, woke me up. I came out in the living room, and you were out in the middle of the living room. You had your sunglasses on, you had your bass guitar out, and you were air guitaring to something incredibly loud, and I believe you're on about your third beer. So you are right that end of school can be very impactful at all ages. Well, Alice Cooper captured that feeling. School's Out was a huge hit, and again, I don't know, maybe that's what you were jamming to at some point that morning.
I don't.
Do you remember the morning I'm talking about?
I do. And it wasn't Alice Cooper that I was playing, although the sentiment I was feeling was exactly the same. But the only thing you got wrong is that the law school wasn't open yet, and so. But I had finished it was a take-home exam actually.
Oh, okay.
And I had to have it in by you pick it up at the law school and you get 24 hours.
Yeah.
And what you said when you came out, I said, as soon as it turned to 7:45 or whatever, it's like, maybe you better take in your exam and turn it in before you're too drunk to do so.
Which proved to be good guidance.
Which was advice that I took.
So, well, Alice had captured it back in 1972, and not only was the song a hit, the album was a big hit. So now again, we've got this continued success from the band, and they're going to sit down, and instead of really scraping together nickels and dimes, which is what they were doing in L.A. which is what they'd been doing when they first got to Detroit. They now had some money, and they rented this huge kind of mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut. And the entire band moved in there, and they wrote, practiced, and did a lot of the recording for their next album, which was Billion Dollar Babies, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Kind of taking a page in the playbook from those British bands that would retreat to a countryside cottage or castle and do their work back in the day. But that's what they did, and this was the album that they came out with. And just real quickly, past that, they had another album after that, Muscle of Love, it was called, which was kind of an interesting album. The container was this cardboard box, which was thicker than normal albums. It was unique and kind of interesting to look at. And then the band really kind of had a combined sense that it had really run its course. There wasn't, although there was, with a lot of bands that start to get some success, some creative bickering and that kind of thing, it really was more of a feeling of just kind of exhaustion and just, I don't know what else we can do together. And Alice Cooper began to work on some private projects, and he became a substantial solo artist in the post band times. And again, as I said, he had now legally taken the name Alice Cooper, and Welcome to My Nightmare was his first album, which was another huge hit. Cranked out a number of tunes, and then he continued on from there. And to this day, Alice Cooper, the band, was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So it sits there, and Alice Cooper was just, I mean, seen and known within the business as a nice guy.
Yeah.
A very popular guy. He was brought into a lot of different projects. He's been in TV. We'll talk about that a little bit today. He's been in movies where he's made a lot of cameo appearances in those things. He continues to tour. He continues to work on projects with other artists. Just even though his onstage persona was this dark, demonic type thing, he was really seen as one of the nicest guys of hard rock, which is a great story to hear.
Well, and a couple of things. He apparently he's a fanatical golfer, and I don't know how good he is. Maybe he may be very good, but but the point is that he likes golf, and apparently he hosts and puts together annually a charitable golf tournament that a number of celebrities get involved in, and he's well regarded in that. And to kind of the distinguishing between the former Vincent Furnier, the man, versus Alice Cooper, the band or the performing artist, the entertainer. He had a relatively brief role in the ill-conceived film of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band with the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton. And he played, he was kind of one of the minions of the bad guys.
Yeah.
And he was making music that was designed to hypnotize young people and do the bidding of the bad guys, and it was all this. But in any case, he sings the Beatles' Because off of Abbey Road, and in a really creepy version. He's got the eye makeup and everything. Yeah. But they show a film of that being shown to these young people, and they're all, nodding hypnotically. But the guy, the Vince, is back in the control room, and he's got jeans and a T-shirt, and he's got a TV on, and there's a boxing match. And he's got a plate, and there's like a Shaggy sandwich, and he's eating a sandwich, and he's watching the boxing match, and he's like, yeah, get him, He's got a can of Miller beer. and so it's just like, he's just a regular guy behind all the, kind of ignore the man behind the curtains, which I think was kind of apt, because that's kind of what it was like. Like, hey, I'm not this creeped out weirdo. That's my job.
Yeah.
I'm an entertainer, and People find this entertaining, and so do I.
Yep.
So and that's something I think that has become non-controversial. That just as a guy, he's pretty normal and relatively well liked in the entertainment industry.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And so as we looked at, I've got a copy of the album here. As we get to it, this is Billion Dollar Babies. Kind of an interesting. It stands out if you go to a lot of record stores like I do. This one always stands out. This green, color with this kind of
Snake
skin thing here. It's like a wallet. Is what it's like. And you've got on the back. Got another token here. It just includes a couple of the songs that are on here that are listed on the thing. But if you open it up, again, you've got kind of a wallet quality to it. There's actually this little can be either. And I've heard a lot of things that this might have been designed as a potential book cover or just a poster or postcard that is here. That comes with it, and then the pictures of the band, members of the band, some other photos, performance, and then the album slid into here. So interesting album. The album that I have actually is on my turntable right now, but record sleeve itself comes with the lyrics and another photo of the band on the back.
The snake.
Pretty. Look at the baby on there. Pretty interesting.
I think the significance of the snakeskin wallet is earlier in the 70s. Alice Cooper performed, and there were certainly pictures taken of, because I've seen them, where he had a boa constrictor like around his neck, and was kind of part of the show.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a direct connection between we just I grab a boa constrictor and they pay and go on stage and start doing this stuff and they pay me well for it.
Yeah.
Kind of like you were saying earlier about kind of the significance of the title is like, how in the hell did we end up making so much money for just kind of cranking out schlocky rock and roll?
Yeah. Yeah. And dressing up in the most outrageous things that we can just pull out of the closet at the last minute. Just an interesting thing. So as we get past the album and start to look at the music, as we've talked about many times, the combination with a good producer can be a huge benefit to these artists. And Bob Ezrin is actually who produced this album. Now, Ezrin worked with a number of great musicians. He worked with Lou Reed. He worked with Aerosmith, Kiss, Deep Purple, Peter Gabriel, and of course with Pink Floyd on The Wall. Just the guy had his act together from a production perspective.
A substantial recording in classic rock history.
Yes, and again, you look at that. You're talking about. Here's these bands that start to get traction. There's money in it. Suddenly they start to get paired up with these, great production experts. Of course, Bob Ezrin, had talents of his own. So that obviously had a hand in putting together some good and more polished music for the listening audience as well. So we've got a combination now of a band that is achieving success. They're a great live band. They've got a good producer, and they're going into to focus on making this. Now, Glenn Buxton, who was, as I said, the only guy when this band got together that even knew how to play an instrument, was really starting to struggle around this time with some, let's say, rock and roller type problems. Alcohol abuse being the biggest of them, and there was he really kind of played a much smaller role in the act. There was some studio guitarists that were brought in to work through this, even though he still received full credit and that type of thing. He wasn't as present on this particular album as he had in some of the previous work. So just kind of something to note as we dig into the songs.
Fun fact: two of the guitarists that came in, one was Steve Hunter and the other Dick Wagner. And both of them had played previously with Lou Reed, and one of his better regarded solo albums is a live album called Rock and Roll Animal, and it starts with this instrumental jam into Sweet Jane. I mean, and that is classic rock. And so these guys, I mean, because Lou Reed, we've talked about Lou Reed before.
Yeah.
His solo career was on the spotty side. I mean, it had some very high points, but he put out some lousy stuff. Truth be told, and so really these two guys really from Lou Reed went on to bigger and at least commercially speaking better things.
Well, there you see the connection there, though, from Bob Ezrin. You know, it's like, hey, we need to bring some people in, and Bob knows some guys that have their shit together. So, you know, let's bring them in and put them to work. And they certainly delivered here.
Yeah.
So, as we talk about the album, side 2 is what we're going to look at, and the first song on this side is "No More Mr. Nice Guy," a very big hit again. One that still receives a lot of classic rock radio play, a huge hit for him, and it is a straightforward rock and roll song. You don't always get that with Alice Cooper. In fact, we're going to be listening to some stuff that's a little off the wall. But this one was just straightforward rock and roll, and I think that was because that there was a genuine message that Vince, Alice Cooper, was looking to get across from this. And as I said, their brand had put kind of an interesting, you know, this kind of demonic Satan worshiper type brand that had come over the band began to transcend just the band, and people were, you know, starting to broadcast that it was these people had those actual feelings. Now Vince came from a family that was deep into the Church of Jesus Christ in the you know, kind of the Mormon wing of religion, but a very religious family. And the press that came out about Alice Cooper, about other members in the band, was pretty vicious. There was, you know, when they went over to England, there was members of Parliament that were objecting to them being there, not because that the shows themselves would be improper, but because these were bad people, was what the public thing. And his vision all along was that he's a performer. This is an act that people seem to enjoy listening to. That's not necessarily who I am. No different from movie stars or anything like that. So he started to get a little pissed off about the way that he and the band were being portrayed.
The one of the individuals in England who rose a stink about the Alice Cooper touring in England was a woman named Mary Whitehouse, who Pink Floyd fans who like Animals might be aware of from the lyrical content, and that song basically criticizes her for her, you know, basically her censorship attitudes and moralizing and whatnot. But I mean, I'll tell you, it is not surprising that when I think back to when I was a kid and the first time I'd see a picture of Alice Cooper in a magazine or something like that, I mean, it was at that time kind of like, well, what in the heck is this? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember seeing a picture of him with the boa constrictor, and before I knew the word androgynous was even before I even knew what the word was.
Yeah.
And I can remember not necessarily thinking, oh, this has got to be terrible, this is horrible, but just thinking, this is strange. This is very weird, very unconventional, very, I don't know where this guy's coming from.
Yeah.
And so it's not shocking that, you know, sort of conventional parents who, you know, didn't necessarily like rock and roll to begin with would take a look at Alice Cooper and take a dim view of what it might be.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, so we have Alice Cooper And let's just listen to the beginning of this. We're going to hear he starts off talking about how he used to be a nice guy, and as we talked about, Alice Cooper was a nice guy, and all the people that worked with him around and that type of thing thought that of him. It's like if you get to know this guy, he's a nice guy. But again, that wasn't the portrayal. So he decided he was going to write a song about this. So let's listen to the beginning of No More Mr. Nice Guy, and we'll talk a little bit more about it after.
Sounds good.
I used to be such a sweet, sweet thing till they got a hold of me. I opened doors for little old ladies. I helped the blind to see. I got no friends 'cause they read the papers. They can't be seen with me, and I'm getting real shot down, and I'm feeling mean. No more Mr. Nice Guy. No more Mr. Clean. No more Mr. Nice Guy. They say he's sick. He's obscene.
No more Mr. Nice Guy. I was a nice guy. The song specifically talks about what you're reading in the papers and this type of thing about how friends don't want to be seen with him and this type of thing. So instead of being the nice guy, no more Mr. Nice Guy. So he's going to change his tactics. Now I don't know if he did anything more than expressing some outrage in this particular song, but he certainly got some level of revenge because this song became a pretty big hit for him.
Well, and as you said earlier, this it's a conventional rock song.
Yeah.
And the lyrics, they I mean, they're definitely coming from a specific place, and no more Mr. Clean and obscene, and so I mean it's clear that there's something out of the ordinary kind of lurking under the lyrics, but it's not thrown in your face. It's not, I mean, there are going to be other songs on the side we're going to talk about that are a little bit more shocky, schlocky than than this. And I think that's one of the reasons why this turned into one of his bigger hits. Conventional rock song, kind of it was definitely an Alice Cooper song.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, if someone didn't know who Alice Cooper was visually, for example, and you hear this song on the radio, this could be, like Grand Funk Railroad or
Sure.
or whatever. And I'm 18, school's out. Now, School's Out had a little bit of a cartoonish aspect to it, but nothing, like I say, nothing grim or spooky or troubling. It was fun. It was fun. And,
Fun rock and roll.
And because if someone asked me, what are Alice Cooper's three, what are the three best songs he had? It'd be 18, School's Out, No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah. And that is, I think that one of the things that drove his popularity was on top of the buzz created by these live performances and this persona of the bands. But yeah, this ability of, we're going to do some weird shit, but every single album we're going to be bringing some just straight up rock and roll songs to the listeners. And in this particular case, I think that there was some deeper meanings to the words than just something that every high schooler, like for School's Out, can appreciate. I mean, later on in the song, he talks about, my mom's been thrown out of society circles. As I said earlier, his parents were involved with the church, and his parents got flack from the circles that they associated in because this was their son. Obviously, they knew Vince, they knew Alice Cooper, they knew he was a decent guy, and they knew that this was a show. But I mean, they were they got consequences from the way that that the band was being talked about and discussed above and beyond just putting on a performance. So this stuff was somewhat personal to Alice Cooper.
Well, and that and I think that you were correct when you said really the only thing that he ever did to express his frustration in any substantial way was to write this song. I mean, he didn't alienate anybody.
Yeah.
That wasn't just alienated by his strange sort of off-putting visual presentation and some of the trimmings that came along with that. And that's kind of to his credit. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
I wrote I
Yeah.
got it out of my system.
And I think he would have just loved it if it only impacted him and what
Yeah.
people were thinking about him. Going back to the advice that Frank Zappa gave to him, it's like, oh yeah, this is good. This is keep that stuff up. And I think that it was the notion that it was impacting negatively those around him that really struck a nerve. So
Don't ever think that it applies to my family.
Exactly. So he kind of gets some venting out with this song, but the bottom line is this was a big hit. It's a familiar hit for those who have had any exposure to classic rock music, and just kind of a good way to get the side going.
Definitely. Great opener.
So great opener. Now we move to the second song, which is called Generation Landslide. And this song, it was released, the very first song on the album, on side one, is a song called Hello Hooray, which is a very kind of showman type song. It was released as a single, did okay. Generation Landslide was the B-side of that single. So at the time, people were buying the single and hearing this Generation Landslide. So it was also a pretty popular song. So let's hear the beginning of this tune, and then we'll talk about it a little bit after we've heard it.
All right.
La da 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 da. Please clean your plate, dear. The Lord above can see you. Don't you know people are starving in Korea? Alcohol and razor blades and poison and needles. Kindergarten people, they use them, they need them. The overindulgent machines were the children. There wasn't a way down on earth here to cool them. Cause they look just like humans at Chris Gaze or Woolworth. But decadent brains were at work to destroy. Rats in battalions were ruling the street scene. Generation Landslide closed the gap between them. And I laughed to myself at the man and the ladies who never conceived of us billion-dollar babies. La da 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 da.
Now this song starts out really kind of light and airy. We've got some acoustic guitar that just kind of carries us along a little bit, and then it just kind of stops, and we get this la da 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 da, and it just kind of shifts up a little bit from that point, and you can hear as we get into this song and a lot of the rest of the songs that we're going to talk about. There's this kind of vaudeville showman type feel to it as it goes in. It falls as we get into the lyrics into a little more kind of a traditional or normal feel to it, but it will continue to bounce back to this kind of showy type type thing. And, here, I think that there's a couple different aspects of this song. It is Generation Landslide. We're talking about, the parents and kids, and something obviously significant to Alice Cooper, as you have an audience of these kids and parents who hated everything about the fact that their kids liked Alice Cooper. I mean, this was one of the things that was kind of defining this era, right? It's like, oh, they're not listening to Alice Cooper, are they? As far as kids, but so that's one aspect of it. But then at the same time, there's this idea of the strength that a younger generation gets to an older generation. Now, sometimes that takes form in just acting out and rebelling. Sometimes it's we're going to actually consume some of what the higher generation has, and you get this notion of greater conflict. Not just I'm trying to escape my parents' generation, but I'm gonna fight my parents' generation. And he brings a couple aspects of the time in. There's this just really starting to see in the 70s this really heavy consumption-oriented capitalism that is taking people over. So you have these rules that all parents are telling their children. He starts out with clean your plate, dear. The Lord above can see you. The types of things he certainly heard from his parents. That's what you're hearing. But then you're seeing this just huge consumption-driven type lifestyle that is really starting to go into high gear in the 70s, right? That we're seeing there. So this is creating conflict. They're saying one thing, I'm seeing another, and then, well, I'm going to do my own thing as we start to come of age as a generation. And the song actually talks about how that they have some like combat related imagery that goes on in the song about the mom, using her pots and pans as shields to the things that the younger generation is doing. It gets kind of interesting with some of the things that they're talking about. But again, it's an example. It's a good song just to listen to. And if you try to sink yourself into the lyrics, you'll find some interesting things going on.
This is another song. It's not as a straightforward rock song like No More Mr. Nice Guy, but it doesn't sound. It's not a schlocky song. It's like it sounds. The beginning. It sounds not unlike something you might have heard from The Faces, like with Rod Stewart, Ron Wood, from that era. And so it's sort of a well-constructed song, and I agree with you that there's a lot going on in it's obviously Generation Landslide. I mean, it's obviously about the situation existing between young people and their parents, and the way of life of each of them at this particular time, and it's a little more it's a little more in your face than other songs about that issue, but it also has some similarities with songs where it talks about that both the older and the younger generation have to stop and realize that there are both good and bad aspects to each of them, and that it would behoove the younger generation to kind of be aware and be open to the experience and wisdom of the older generation, and it would behoove the older generation to be more mindful of the innocence and optimism of the younger generation. Now you've got negative things, whether it's immaturity and impulsiveness in the younger generation that doesn't always play out in the most healthy way, and then you sort of got closed-mindedness and set in your ways, and sort of the as people in their 60s know that I'm closer to the end than the beginning.
Yeah.
And things would be better if they were the way when I was in my 20s, blah blah blah. So it actually kind of addresses those in a way that avoids sort of this garish, face paint, boa constrictor weirdness, but still manages to have that kind of oddball Alice Cooper vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's. I mean, as far as it's a fairly well constructed song, both musically and lyrically, to kind of bridge that gap, but not be too schlocky.
Yeah,
It's not really schlocky at all.
No.
It's just it's
No,
it's
but
a
they
good song.
do they do change things up. Like I said, it kind of started out and they shifted gears to get the song going. And the song ends. We didn't hear the end of the song, but the song ends with the line, "You never conceived of us $1 billion babies," which there's a song on side one, $1 billion babies. Another very popular song. Who many of you may have heard the song before, but this was just another reference to the notion that here we are. We're out here, and they were no longer kids at this time, but they were still doing and acting on this direction that they had started when they were kids, right? And here they were, and they were making a lot of money doing this. I mean, that Steve Martin notion, I get paid for doing this. And not that, they get paid very well.
Well, and for young people in the early 70s, I mean, the consumer culture, they didn't come up with that.
No.
Kind of the keeping up with the Joneses manner of consumption didn't appeal to a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And whereas, going and getting the sort of wild release that you'd get at an Alice Cooper concert, I'd rather spend my money on this, kind of thing. And it's a good song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably not as profound as we're talking, really, but it's a good song. It's a good song.
Absolutely. And it does, again, there was a little bit of not just a straight rock and roll song, and which provided a decent bridge, because from this point forward, we're going to get a little off the beaten path in songs. You're not going to confuse any of the remainder of the songs with something you might find on a Faces album from before. So as we move on to the third song, now I didn't listen to Alice Cooper in 1974. I wasn't listening to a whole lot of anything when I was 11 years old, but I was watching television. And we would, this is back in the 3-channel days. And if you were, able to sit and watch some TV in the evenings, you watched whatever your parents were watching or whatever happened to be on. And there was a show that wasn't an overly memorable show, but it was entertaining for us. We'd watch the Snoop Sisters on TV, and one of the times we were watching, and I chimed in, and that you wanted to jump in with something, Mike?
A couple things, and there were, because I remember the episode you're talking about. I can remember seeing it as a kid. And that show wasn't on really very long.
No.
But it was it was a thing. I mean, Helen Hayes was one of the played one of the old lady detective types, and but like Alice Cooper, the show The Snoop Sisters, both of those things are in the "this only could have happened in the 1970s" category.
Yes. Yeah, I'd agree with you. And the wonderful thing about our modern age is we've got this thing called the internet, and we can actually bring some of those things back. So we're gonna watch a little bit of what we saw on that episode back in 1974, and everybody should keep in mind. I mean, I remember this episode. I remember the what we're gonna hear on it, and just because of the way things were for the next 40 years, I never saw it again. Right. In fact, until I started to do some research for this, I didn't see that again. So as we talk about this a little bit, it's important to remember that the impact was made just in the time we were sitting there watching that show in 1974. So let's show everybody what we saw back then in 1974, and then we'll talk about it.
All right.
Now, I don't know if it really impacted me at the time, but looking at this now, probably the most notable thing that I saw was the people that appeared to be in a little bit of a drug trance, kind of closing their eyes and just kind of going back and forth as Alice Cooper performed Sick Things. And as I said, I didn't have this album. I didn't even ever see a copy of this album until either late in high school or even when I got into the service. But I remember this song.
We got a hold of an 8-track tape of this album, like when we were in high school.
Might have been an 8-track tape.
And but that was a number of years after 1974.
So I saw this, and that song, Sick Things, which is, he was lip syncing straight off the album. So we were listening to what the album presented there. But I had that song in my head from that point forward. I knew that song. I knew it was Alice Cooper. And, when I finally decided that, okay, so that whether it be that 8-track or an album that someone had, looking at it and saying, oh, Sick Things. That's what I went to. That's why when I go to this particular album, I go to side 2 of this album because it has Sick Things on it. This song that was placed in my head in 1974, never to be seen again. There was no DVRs or on-demand TV to be able to go and see this. There was certainly no reruns of the Snoop Sisters, because as you pointed out, it wasn't really overly successful. It aired for a little bit of time. Watching this one time, when we were probably sitting on the floor of the living room there watching the TV, was able to keep this song in my head for decades afterwards.
I was there. We both saw this at the same time at home.
I was there. I saw it.
I was there.
Yeah.
And I had heard of Alice Cooper before. Because I can remember that at the beginning of the episode, one of the guest stars, Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't, as far as his, and he had on, well, they just saw it,
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of consistent with the impression that one who wasn't really familiar with Alice Cooper had. And so it sort of was a confirming experience. Oh yeah, there's this Alice Cooper character. And I mean, at the time, because I agree with you, because I found the YouTube clip yesterday when I was,
Yeah.
kind of just boning up for doing the podcast. And the thing that caught my attention the most were the members of the audience. And, it's sort of, without going into unnecessary detail, I mean, I've got a little bit more of a grasp on drug experience than I did
In
when we saw that
1974.
in 1974. And the bottom line is that Alice Cooper's Sick Things is not really the sort of material that a pleasant buzz leads you to.
Yeah.
Is in my whatever experience in that realm I have, it wasn't oh, put on Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
I guess that wasn't what it was.
Well, it certainly did, stick. Now, part of it, it's a very simple song. You heard it. It's slowly sung the words, these sick things, big, obviously repeated a lot of times. I see, and that, this, he was talking about the, especially some of the female fans that would follow the band along, and sometimes it's clear that the band might partake in the attendance of some of these females coming to the concert. Let's remember, I mean, back in the 70s, and I mean it still happens to some extent, but not as much as it did back then. I mean, the roadies at a concert would just be going around tapping the prettiest girls they could find on the shoulder and giving them a pass to come backstage after the concert. And a pretty regular, standard occurrence at rock concerts. And these Alice Cooper is referring to them as his sick things, and including that he eats sick things that are coming, and they quench his appetite and these types of things. Also says he loves the sick things. So it is it is not a standard run-of-the-mill rock and roll song, but certainly, whether it's based on the simplicity or the bluntness of the song, it certainly made an impression on me that lasted for over 50 years.
Well, I mean, the song is definitely about his fans, and certainly there is a legitimate lyrical interpretation that he's focusing on the female fan.
Yeah.
He's definitely talking about his fans.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek reference to his, if you guys are this into me, there's something wrong with you. Kind of thing.
That's that theme of you can't even really believe that there's this many people that are into them.
But it wasn't. It wasn't a judgmental, nasty thing like saying, "Geez, these people are shelling out money to buy this stuff."
Yeah.
We, kind of there's a sucker born every minute kind of.
Yeah.
But I don't. I think it was more of kind of that horror movie, blood and guts, schlocky, shocky. It fit in. It's like I'm gonna tell you guys how much I like you by giving you a very garish, in your face dose of what I do.
Yeah.
That you like. So it's really kind of genuine, and because the fans, just because you liked Alice Cooper didn't mean that you were some weirdo.
Yeah.
You just had that kind of taste and whatnot. It was a legitimate form of entertainment that was very popular with a lot of people, and he just kind of wallowed in it. Because I mean, this song, if someone if the Onion put together a parody of Alice Cooper, a cartoonish parody, this would be it.
Oh yeah.
And they say, well, how can you call one of his own songs an outlandish, cartoonish parody of himself? It's like, well, that's what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it you could say that if you look at the more garish, cartoonish aspects of Alice Cooper, that this would be a signature song in that vein.
Yes. Yep. So this is a song that I've carried with me my whole life since watching this being 11 years old. It's one I've known, and to some extent I think back when I hear the song to us sitting on the floor of the den there watching TV. So it's also, especially when I first kind of got back into listening to music and in high school years, in my 20s, when we were in college, and this type of thing. It's one of the albums that I would go and I would actually skip the first two songs and go to Sick Things. Because it's like, and it's all I want to hear, but let me listen to Sick Things. It was kind of that stuck in my head. I didn't do that a lot with a lot of albums. I mean, I like No More Mr. Nice Guy and Generation Landslide, but what I really wanted to hear was Sick Things, and I have no doubt in my mind that was the plant from watching this show. And so it's kind of interesting the way these little tiny things. I mean, who knows what paths my life would have taken had I not watched that episode of the Snoop Sisters.
Well, and I mean, the song, that horn-like song. I don't know whether it's horns or whether it's some kind of synthesizer, but that horn-like anthem, dun dun,
yeah,
dun dun, is something that catches you,
yeah,
and to some extent, and at the end there's a fairly quintessential '70s hard rock guitar solo by Steve Hunter. At the end of the song.
Well, and the end of the song, in fact, this is how I want to move us to the next song. At the end of the song, it really does kind of rise up, and it gets more musical, and then more kind of almost like chaotic catastrophe type feeling to it, and then No Dead Air, it dissolves into the next song, which is another complete gear shift from where we're at. So why don't we listen to that? We're going to listen to the very end of Sick Things, and we're gonna flow into the fourth song on the side, which is a song called Marianne. There's only a handful of lyrics in Marianne. We'll listen to that and how it kind of transitions into some piano, and then we'll talk a little bit about that song on the other side.
Sounds good.
I just can't live without you, Mary Ann, Mary Ann, Mary Ann. My life was built around your stars and sand. Your eyes were pools of laughter, Mary Ann. I thought you were my man.
Now, don't ask why, but when I hear this transition, again, I originally came to this by kind of directing my sights towards hearing the song "Sick Thing," And when I started doing this that was in my head because of this TV show that I'd watched. And then Marianne came behind it, which is obviously a change in direction. Instead of this dark, heavy, deep thing, it is, you hear this just pleasant, soft, ode of love to Marianne that you hear. And it's the piano and the vocals is all you're hearing. The piano, that was Bob Ezrin playing the piano on that particular song. And gonna set aside some of the potential meanings of the song for a second, because let me just before we get into that, I've always just pictured, because of that kind of chaotic end to Sick Things, and it was almost like there was this cloud or dust or rubble that was coming from something. I can almost picture like some military people walking through a city that was just bombed, and there's like dust and fog in the air, and you come into this like town center, and there's someone sitting at a piano in the middle of the town center, and all the dust is starting to slowly settle, and you hear this guy that just goes, Mary, and starts playing the piano onto this side, and everybody around stops, and this chaos that they've just left kind of leaves them, and you're listening to this guy singing this soft, beautiful song. How that thing got in my head, I don't know. Doesn't matter, but I continue to feel that way. It's really a transition. It's an uninterrupted transition, but you really have to shift gears from Sick Things, and then as we start listening to Marianne.
Well, and that's one of the beautiful things about art is, it generates different imagery in different people's minds. And I think that's a very interesting take on the transition from, track 3 to track 4 on the side. And I think Marianne, just standing alone as a song, if it weren't for the very last line, which basically, converts this from Marianne to, Lola 2. Yes. Yeah. If it weren't for that, if it was something like, Marianne, you were my gal, I mean, this would be just a very conventional song of love and affection for a female, and it would kind of be out of place on almost on a Alice Cooper album, at least the Alice Cooper that we're talking about. Yeah. But it's there's an album, a Brian Eno album, Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy, side 2. It starts with a song called Third Uncle, which is a very guitar-oriented. The album came out in 1974, and it is pointed to by a lot of people as kind of proto-punk, proto-new wave. Guitars, fast, aggressive. So that song comes to an end. And then the second song on that side is a song called Put a Straw Under Baby. And it sounds like something that a baby, an infant, it's very childish,
soothing, and
very just different. And it's the sort of thing that makes you think, this doesn't even sound like the same artist. Yeah, yeah. It's so different in instrumentation, tone, rhythm, everything, and this is sort of like that. It's like, what, we were there, and now we're here. Yeah. What the fuck is going on? Yeah. What are these guys doing? Yeah. And
then they continue that feeling. Just real quick, we listened. It started. We kind of cut off the clip there as we went into a piano piece, and that piano picks up, it gets louder, it increases its speed and its tempo. It's very like somebody on the stage getting the crowd kind of riled up and clapping along and into it. But it's nice. It's this piano, just straight piano kind of feel. And even within this song, they did exactly what you just described. It's kind of like, what the hell just happened here? You're listening to this song, the Marianne, I'm really crazy about you, do what I can, just can't live without you, Marianne. It's a nice, beautiful, beautiful song. But that very last line, I thought you were my man. And it's like, what the hell? You know, it's like, you know, this that spins you around. So, you know, there's a lot pointing to the fact that we're gonna toss in a song with a transvestite theme to it to kind of get things shaken up a little bit here.
Make sure they know it's us.
Exactly. They might have forgotten this is Alice Cooper here. So yeah, I'll be honest, especially in my earlier years, when I was just like, hey, this just happened to be the song after Sick Things. I never even thought about it that way. And it's one of the dangers when you actually start to absorb yourself too deep into the meanings of a particular song. It can catch you off guard. I mean, I have absolutely no issue with anybody singing about transvestites, and it doesn't change what I think about a song. I mean, the song Lola is
Lola's
to me
it's a great song. It's a classic.
Exactly. There's something like when I can't eat kettle corn. That's popcorn with sugar on it. I look at popcorn and I'm expecting a salt taste, and when it's sugar, it just throws me off. My whole family loves kettle corn. It throws me off. So what to me was just this more peaceful way of moving myself out of this song, Sick Things, which I never really on my own decided to like because it was embedded in my brain by the Snoop Sisters in 1974 in the first place. So I'm kind of forced to listen to the song, and I feel this kind of cushiony, pillowy type song, and that's the way that I have decided to continue to think about it going forward. I think it's a beautiful song. I think it switches gears and slows things down from a very interesting song of Sick Things, but maybe it just needed that little pinch to be. It's like, hey, I'm Alice Cooper, because you're going to need to be prepared emotionally for topics of songs as we move into the final track on this side.
Well, and it's almost like, and we've used this term before, it's sort of a sorbet, because, you know, Sick Things, and then the track number 5, the last track on the side, you know, because things changed with Marianne, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're going to be right back into the pure Alice Cooper for track number 5. Yes.
And why don't we head there now? The final track on the side, which it's side 2, so it's the final track on the album. The first thing before we get into the actual song itself, I think it's a great ending song, both for the side and then a wrap up for the album. We'll focus a little bit on the lyrics and that type of thing, how the song starts, but the way that it ends, you can picture this song being the last encore song in his performances. There's a very showman vaudeville type feel to the way the get up and sing along and clap along type feel to the end of the song, which we'll hear. But this song is called I Love the Dead. And this is not someone who's like a zombie and all of his friends are in the middle world of death. This is a human. This is a song squarely focused on necrophilia, and which is one of those things that tended to piss the parents off of people that were going to Alice Cooper concerts.
Well, I agree with the way that you've characterized this. I mean, you can picture at the end of an Alice Cooper concert, the whole audience singing along with this. And frankly, I think he might have copped the idea for this song from Sesame Street. Because, I'm serious. Because I don't know if you recall, but back in the day, Oscar the Grouch, who he lived in a garbage can.
Yep.
And
yep.
and he sang a song on Sesame Street, I love trash. And
Hey.
I mean, I can still hear it, I love trash. And I'll bet you it was that simple.
Yep.
Like, hey,
Well,
I can take that idea and do it as Alice. Okay, great. Next thing you know, the song is written.
so here's what I want to do. I want to play two different tracks from, actually not tracks, two different clips from this track. And I just want to play a very short clip from the beginning of the song where he gets us very quickly to what he's talking about. And then we'll break for just a second to talk about that, but then I want to come back and play that ending part. So let's hear the first, just a short clip, about 30 seconds from the beginning of the song here, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
I love the dead before they're cool. The bluing flesh for me to hold. Cadaver eyes upon me see nothing.
I love the dead before they're cold. We come to the heart of this very quickly, and it's
Okay.
got that kind of sneering, talking, the villain with the cloak type feel to it in the beginning. We're not trying to dance around the issue at all, which is, hey, he's got something to say here.
Yeah. Yeah. Before they're cold, you gotta work fast. Despite the fact that that's, I agree with you. It's hard to avoid the interpretation that he's talking about necrophilia, but it's in a campy, tongue in cheek. This is fun.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Way. I mean, the song, the rest of the song does not maintain that sort of morbid.
I
It just
agree.
doesn't. It just doesn't.
In fact, let's turn to that, because the larger portion of the song is really this kind of finale feel to the end. So let's listen to that, and then we'll wrap up talking about the song once we've heard that.
All right.
So you see, this really doesn't feel like that beginning portion of the song. We're obviously still on the same topic. He keeps saying, "I love the dead," that he's there, but it's got this. Because of the repetitive nature, you can see people singing along to the song. Although I don't know if it was a regular thing. I know that there were concerts where he had there was a guillotine that cut off Alex Cooper's head at the end, and then they'd close with "I Love the Dead," and here you got Alice is dead, but we love him type feel to it, and it actually does have at the end there a very fun stand on your feet, clap around kind of feel to the song, which is not what you would have thought listening to the first lines of the song and the way that they were presented, but they change it around, and what we've got here is just a great ending to a show, which is at the end of the day, that's what Alice Cooper was. He was a showman, right? The band put on incredible shows to their people, and this is the type of material that fed well into that whole theme.
The tone of this song reminds me of our kids were music and drama types when they were in high school, and both of them were very good. And our son, when he was a junior in high school, was cast as Gomez in a musical stage production of The Addams Family, and let's face it, The Addams Family are into some morbid shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's sort of a lovable, happy-go-lucky nature to it. I mean, it combines morbidity with sort of just good-hearted fun.
Yeah.
And that's the same kind of vibe that I get from this song. It's not, you're not worried about Alice Cooper, if my daughter goes to the Alice Cooper concert, she's going to get, become an occult member and blah, blah, blah. It's schlocky.
Yeah.
It's schlocky and fun.
Yeah.
It really is. If you have the patience, and it doesn't take that much, to just stop and listen and realize, this is all tongue-in-cheek entertainment. It's like All-Star Wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like, no, he's not bleeding. That's ketchup, kind of thing. And so in some ways, it's even more just right in there with the Alice Cooper way of doing things than Sick Things, because I mean, just listen to this song, he's not serious. This guy isn't dangerous.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's when you think about music, if you want to hear a sad love song, you got plenty of options for that. If you want to hear about drinking ice cold beer at the country fair, you've got country music that you can listen to. I mean, there's the standard fare for topics for music, I mean, is well covered in a lot of areas, and it's just like, hey, some of this stuff is fun to mess around with. Alice Cooper certainly did it to great success. Again, we're talking about a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band. We're talking about an incredibly successful band. This album, looking back, you look at things like the All Music Guide and that type of thing. It's considered one of the quintessential rock albums of the time. So, certainly hit something with this. And I mean, I think I agree with you. It's like, let yourself get past, right? Rapping and just listen to it and enjoy it. And it's enjoyable music to listen to. And especially with that kind of just carnival feel ending to this particular song, which was the way that the side was capped off, starting with just a regular mainstream rock and roll, no more Mr. Nice Guy hit. We get a little bit of a ride through some really change of pace type things, and we end up with this really just kind of powerful finale to the song. It makes for a great side of music, and certainly worthwhile for someone who wants to check out what were the out of control kids listening to in the early 70s. And I mean, this is some really good music to show that.
Well, it is, and and some of the performers that kind of led up to this, like like Jim Morrison,
Hmm.
Iggy Pop, and then you throw in a little Frank Zappa
Yeah.
theatricality on top of that, and you kind of come up with something like this. And
Yeah.
I mean, the Doors were incredibly successful commercially,
Oh yeah.
but I mean, Alice Cooper was more popular in their heyday than Frank Zappa ever was.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
In terms of sort of mainstream popularity, and it's I'm not going to be sitting around over the next however many years spinning Alice Cooper albums a lot of the time. It's just not going to happen.
Hmm.
But it's Alice Cooper as a band, as an artist, is a genuine placeholder in the overall classic rock era.
Yeah.
And it's worth checking out. And this is probably the best side to do it.
Yeah. Well, and don't ever let anybody tell you that TV will not influence your children, because I will put on some Alice Cooper from time to time, and I will often put on Sick Things, and I will let it slide right into Marianne, because it just is what I remember from a long way back. It was part of a chip that's been inserted into me by all the media over the years.
It's all right. He saw it on the television.
Exactly. Well, look, again, a great, very interesting, influential artist, and still touring out there doing things. Get it if you get a chance. He's a worthwhile show, and
He's got a syndicated show as a DJ, or he did for a long time. I don't
Yeah.
know if he still does, but
so he's out there. You can check him out. But this is one of his real early successes. Recommend it to everybody. A great artist, great album, and a great side. And as always, Mike, a great conversation.
I agree on all of those points. So, Mark, we will see you next time.